Kjenner du igjen denne logoen? Hva med denne? Disse 3 kjedene styrer 99,3% av dagligvaremarkedet i Norge. Hvordan påvirker dette de små aktørene?
And one of the real casualties of this increasing corporate power is that it's squeezing out the possibility of local businesses that are rooted in their communities, that feel ties to their communities, and that serve their communities.
And I'm making a beer called a New England IPA today. So it's a hoppy, juicy beer.
De elsker å gå fritt, disse hønene. En gang hvis du lukker opp, vi har hønsegården der nede, og den er jo ganske store, men en gang du slipper de ut, så vandrer de rundt på hele gården.
We hear that Amazon, for example, says that it wants to sell everything to everybody, everywhere. That's its ambition. Well, if it's selling everything to everybody, everywhere, there's not going to be a lot of room for local businesses to be operating. And I think that's a real loss.
There's two ways you can attack the market, and one is to sort of go scale, like, have a higher volume, and that means selling to supermarket chains and different, getting those agreements in place and getting the distribution in place to satisfy those agreements. And then what you're required to produce is large volumes, consistent quality. So that's one angle, and then there's money in that volume,
Store selskaper selger hylleplasser til store leverandører, og det er ikke uvanlig at 10% av salgsinntekten må betales for at varen i det hele tatt skal komme på butikkhylla. Dette gjør det veldig vanskelig for mindre leverandører å komme til i de mest besøkte utsalgsstedene, og gir høyere priser for forbrukerne.
Han heter Einar. Sant du heter Einar, du? Ja. Snart skal du ut med sauene. I morgen.
We have a problem. There's no question in how exactly local communities and national communities can take control of their economies and of their social relations. But it's a problem that is solvable, but it requires, I think, some bold thinking.
The other side of the coin is someone goes to a bar, and they want to try a different beer every time. So it's hard to do both, So we're sort of angling more towards smaller quantities, more variety.
Jeg går bare ut og plukker så rett inn I butikken her. Så vi står og sorterer oppe på låven, og så bærer vi det inn I butikken. Og slipper transport.
It's a matter of scale, if you're turning over, like if you're making massive amounts of anything, then cutting a 10% cost off your materials makes a big difference. So there's a much bigger incentive to drive that. There's a bigger economic incentive. But if I'm cutting, 10% off my materials bill, it's not big enough deal to even worry about it. Whatever you do, don't skimp on the materials.
Det jo et safteri på gården. Og de får jo masse epler, så alle de kassene her, det har det vært epler I. Presse epler og lage eplesaft.
This is an Australian hop called Topaz, and it's got this kind of earthy tropical character, and some say like lychee flavour.
Og så er det rådyr her oppe. Så det er en mor med 2 rådyrunger. De er rett rundt her, og de går og spiser av avlingen vår. Så da er spørsmålet, skal vi la en jeger ta de ut? Vi får lov av Stavanger kommune, men se om vi skal gjøre det da.
Local businesses, people who you know, who are owning the businesses, who are working in them, who are responsive to what the needs are of the community, to what people in the community want. I think that's a very important aspect of community. And it's one that, as everything is taken over by the Walmarts and the Amazons and the other large retailers, I think we're losing. And I think in losing that, we lose a lot.
A garden environment. It's sort of psychologically nice, especially in the middle of winter, to come in and feel like it's a little bit of spring in the air.
Tenk det blir en trillebår med hestemøkk til dagen.
I think it's in general better quality, more care and effort goes into it. It also supports the local commerce and community.
What a local business has as an advantage is that it's a local business, is that it's actually in the community, is that its employees and its owners are actually mixing with the local community. That's very powerful. That's something Facebook doesn't have. That's something Apple doesn't have.
Drink local, eat local, shop local. It increases the diversity, which makes things more interesting, and multicultural kind of influences, it just makes it more interesting.